And welcome to today's European SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure Community webinar. My name is Laura and I'm delighted to be joined by Vivian Boss, MVP from Avanade, Denmark, who will present the topic 5 features for admins to enable better user adoption in model-driven Power Apps.
Yes, that was my cue.
Sorry, I'll just run through a few slides, Vivian, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
So remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @EuropeanSP and our hashtag is #ESPC23. Don't forget to check out the Resource Centre. This is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars and how-to videos. Simply visit sharepointeurope.com and click the Content tab at the top. Continue your learning by joining us for the first webinar out of a total of 8 for Teams Week. Our next webinar, Viva plus Teams, is Tough Love, how to start with Viva apps on Microsoft Teams. Takes place on Monday, March 20th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. CET. For full details, please check out sharepointeurope.com/your guide to Microsoft Teams. The European Power Platform Conference programme is now available to view. This June, prepare yourself to deep dive into all things Power Pages, Dataverse, PowerFX, Canvas apps, Fusion Teams, governance, Microsoft Teams, and so much more. With a lineup of exceptional speakers and topics curated by an independent programme team, we truly believe this programme will provide you with the expertise to power ahead in your career and projects. Be sure to visit sharepointeurope.com/conference schedule 2023 EPPC to find out more about the conference schedule. Not all pots of gold are under a rainbow. This one is right in front of you. We are running a St. Patrick's Day special offer on all European Power Platform Conference tickets. Take 17% off 2- and 3-day tickets this week. Offer ends midnight, Friday the 17th. We will be doubling the fun and learning in Dublin this June at the European Power Platform Conference. So make sure you join us from the 20th to the 22nd of June in Dublin, Ireland for the 2nd European Power Platform Conference. Experience up to 3 unrivaled days of in-person learning, sharing and networking. You don't want to miss out on the crack and connections to be had in the Convention Centre Dublin. So make sure to visit sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference to avail of this offer before it's too late. We also have a super early bird sale running for ESPC 23. Join us in Amsterdam this year from the 27th to the 30th of November for 4 days of learning, networking and inspiration. ESPC 23 will bring together members of the Microsoft 365 and Azure community from around the world to share ideas and solutions. Surround yourself with the like-minded individuals at ESPC this November. Secure your super early bird tickets today and get ready for 4 incredible days of Microsoft 365 and Azure learning. Please visit sharepointeurope.com/pricing to snatch up this limited offer. After the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you might have into the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will also be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to our webinar presenter today, Vivian. Hi, Vivian, how are you?
Hi, Laura, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So just gonna check now if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see that.
Perfect. Hopefully also the one that shows my presentation.
Yes, presentation.
It's always a bit of a pitfall if you're not sure, if you cannot see, not used to Teams. Well, I am used to Teams, which has the red circle around, the red square around the screen when it's presenting, so this is new to me. But thank you, Laura, for the introduction, and a lot of great events coming this year. Looking really much forward to all of them. But why don't we deep dive into the topic of today, which is the 5 features for admins to enable better user adoption in model-driven Power Apps. Yes, a tough topic. quick to start off, then a bit about myself. I'm Vivian from Avanade, Denmark. I'm a solution architect on Dynamics 365 and Power Platform products. I've worked with the products and the platform for up to 5 to 7 years now, and I've been part of the whole process from a technical and business consultant to a solution architect, going through all the pitfalls and also seeing the adoption, being also on the user side of what is missing and what the admins can do about that. I'm also a Microsoft Business Applications MVP since February last year. Rather active in the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform community, so helping to arrange events, speaking at different events, especially speaking about mostly Dynamics 365 and also the combination with Power Platform and Dynamics 365, making sure how you can extend them, how you can make them work together. And to be fair, Dynamics 365 is also a model-driven app, so it already is combined into the Power Platform. Besides doing the community work and thinking about Power Platform and Dynamics 365, I also love volunteering and handicrafts. I find that having a bit of time, I don't always have a lot of the time, but having a bit of time to get your head out of it, doing something different also helps you gather your thoughts and charge your energy to dive head on into the problems or solutions once again. You can see in the end on the corner of the screen, you can see my social media accounts. It is also actually, funnily enough, it seems to be in the order of activity. So I'm the most active. I am on Twitter and LinkedIn, so you can see me posting, you can see me sharing things. I try to share the content that I find relevant both to myself and interesting, but also to be able to show you what other great minds, other experts are doing within the field of Power Platform, actually also Microsoft 365 and Dynamics. I do also have a blog. I do a blog about Dynamics and Power Platform. Added a bit of Teams there recently. And also try to write about all the updates that are coming. If there is an issue I'm facing, also try to take you through it. There's different solutions in terms for admins as well. And I also have a plan from now on to also write a bit more about the different processes and everything surrounding Power Platform. So keep a watchful eye on that. But enough about me. Let's dive into the story that you are actually here to listen about. Model-driven apps. Here's the story about model-driven apps. What are they? Quick and fast model-driven apps is the business process equivalent to Canvas apps. You have in the Power Platform, you have two types of apps with some modifications. One is Canvas apps, which is primarily for creating quick, nice looking, primarily started with mobile apps, and now you have, and there you have also the model-driven apps, which is the more heavier, the more process-driven Power Apps, which you can create. Basically, as a very popular topic has been recently, you can create your own CRM by just bringing in the tables. From the picture there, you can see a model-driven app. This is not a Dynamics, as it points out there. This is a quick model-driven app that I actually put together in 10 minutes. Brought in a few tables and showing just a quick view of what we will be going through today. Problem with model-driven apps, as I've been working with it for the past 7 to 8 years, is the fact that as they are a bit more rigid than Canvas apps, it is harder for users to take them in. It is harder for you to create, it's honestly not that hard to create them, but it's harder for you to give the understanding further to the users of the purpose and of the usability of it more than it is with Canvas apps. You cannot change the outlook of it as much as you can with the other one. You have a set of rules that you can modify, but you cannot make them exactly 100% your own unless you delve into custom development. And that is, to be fair, with most of the customers recently, something we are trying to avoid. we are trying to figure out how we can get the users to see the value in the system, to see that the system is actually helping them and not using it as a database, but just using it to see that it is helping them to further their goals, helping them to make sure that they quickly find the information needed, they quickly have everything in their hand, in their look and feel as they want it to, with modification, of course, because you cannot 100% satisfy all your users, because sometimes the requests cannot be identified by tech, but they are more a process-driven one, where you would have to look deeper into your sales process, adoption process, governance, making sure you know what makes sense to the company and what makes sense to users, how much you want to show to them. But the 5 features that we're talking about or are going to go talk through today are the ones that I have seen personally, that adopting these have increased the user adoption and the satisfaction of users significantly, and it's a quick fix. Let's put it that way. Quick fix in a way that you flip a button, you communicate it out to your users, and they already can see the benefits of it. They can take it to their own, and they can see the effort, and they can see the benefits that you have put into it. I've taken it with a bit of a twist. So here, meet Amanda. Amanda is a system admin for Contoso for 5 years. She has been working with Power Platform and Power Apps for a couple of years now, and she's passionate about enabling users to do their best. Amanda is responsible for making sure that all the apps and everything is running as they should. She's also making sure that every user gets the help that they need, and they know how to get around the systems. But Amanda has run into an issue. Sometimes it happens, and most of the time system admins seem to see that a lot. The people are not using the apps created for them. They complain about usability, lack of training, and the complexity of the system. People start using the apps right as they come along. They see it, they feel it, it's rigid. They complain about the functionality of the fact that, hey, I have to do so many clicks to get through it. It's the information, I have to open this, close that. It gets a lot. And that is the main complaints that I also personally have heard a lot. And the fact that users are, after a bit of time, reverting back to their old habits. The habits being what they are, most of the things that people revert to are Excel sheets. Excel sheets are Excel is a great tool, but we have taken so much time to try and show the value of model-driven app instead of the Excel that they're using. But it is familiar, that's home. That's something that they revert back to the moment they see that within the system, they have to take a lot of clicks. They have to take a lot of effort, and maybe also they don't know how the system works. So they don't know what it is that, how to make things easier, how to make things faster. So she started looking for options. First thing that Amanda did when she ran into the issues, when people came up to her, when she sees those service tickets, when she sees those error messages, she turned to the Power Platform Admin Center. She started looking through the features and seeing and figuring out, is there something that is not turned on yet that can be helpful to the users on making them their life easier. After some testing and errors, she tried to move them all on and off, move them back and forth, tried one, tried another one, tested and tested until she figured out that there are features that users benefited from and were more excited about than others. So as it is usually, what you should do is keep your people and users engaged in the process of improvements that you're doing. Make sure that they know also the struggles you're going through, also the constraints there are with the technology, and also see what can be done with the processes. So the 5 processes or the 5 features that Amanda figured out work best for the users, or where the users could see the benefit right away, were the extensive search capabilities by database search, managing views, editing columns and filters, help panes, and collaboration. These 5 are the features that you can turn on in the admin center. You can also turn them off if you want to, depends on your processes, but turning on these features for Amanda helped tremendously figuring out how users suddenly started using the system more, started to figure out how the system works, and also managed Amanda to focus on other parts of her work rather than holding the hands of the users to help them through the different functionality of the system. Most of these are available for everyone. Collaboration is kind of a gray zone in terms of a preview, in terms of general availability, but it is working in the system. It's also working in the production, and it is definitely a useful tool. I will go through each 5 of these on a theoretical basis, and then I will also show you a demo of how exactly each one of them works within the system in a newly created model-driven app, and also show you how it is that users can make sure they benefit from each and every one of them. So let's dive into database search. Search, you can see in the middle part of the model-driven app, you have a search bar directly in the middle. It's impossible for the users to miss it. It used to be in the side, so on the right side of the screen, so it wasn't that visible, had just the loop icon on it, but it's, as you said, it's in your face now. The functionality is that with database search, it starts helping you directly when you are searching for information. The moment you start typing letters, it already starts suggesting you the possible outcomes that there are. In terms of search results, when you press enter, you can, as an administrator, decide yourself which tables it will search for. You can decide if you want to have all the tables available in your model-driven app, or you only want to allow people to search within specific tables. All the search results that come up will be also divided between the tables that you get. Also, the results within the different tables will be visible to you. You can also see all the top results, and those are the results on each table that match the search word. Maybe not perfectly, but the best way, or the closest as there comes to the database. And on the right side here, you can see that I have a filters area, which is something that you can flip back, and just put it aside and not look at it. Or you can also have it open and filter the data closer and more significantly rather than it is from the side view of you. Why is database search better than the search functionality we have had before? For once, it's faster. It is looking through. You are the one that decides which fields and which tables it's looking through, but it also is faster in a way that users are not looking at a rolling circle for 5 minutes before they get any information available. They get all the answers, they get all the possible options that there are. They don't have to click further to be able to see more. And even if they're not sure about the search word they're using, If they're not exactly sure about the name, maybe write maybe if it's a capital, maybe if it has 2 E's instead of 1, they don't have to worry about that part. They will just write the part that they know, and the system will give them the closest options that there are, and also it prioritizes the ones and the records that are used mostly. This means that if your users are working with some records more than others, and instead of them just going to accounts, opening a specific one, they just decide to search for it, it will be one of the top results that will be presented to them because they've been working with it, and they will quickly manage to find it. Search results also, as you can see, it takes up the whole screen, so it will show you as many as possible, but you have the possibility of filtering. Second one we have is managing views, which comes directly out of the Dataverse search, is the fact that whenever you open a table in a model-driven app, you see that it opens up with various views. These views can be your own personal, and these views are also system-wise managed by your system administrator. Before times, and now I'm saying like it was that long back, it was actually maybe only half a year to a year ago, users only had the possibility of editing their own personal views. What they could do was they could create their own view, and then they could just use those if they wanted, but then they suddenly ended up having 20 to 50 different views, which were in conjunction with the system views and the personal views, which meant that the person actually had to spend many minutes just scrolling through the views, making sure that everything, nothing was relevant, or whatever was relevant, finding the view, and then looking through the relevant information. That's a waste of time, honestly. From the system administrator perspective, but also user perspective, no one wants to do that. So now you have the option, or you have as a system administrator the possibility to give users the option to hide views. The possibility for them to hide views makes it possible for them to categorize and make sure they only see the views that are relevant for them, making it easier, making it faster for them to do their work and find the information possible. The possibility to hide the views is something that you can turn on and turn off if you figure out that the users are mistreating it or are not using it. That is up to you. But it is a very beneficial feature for especially those users that is primarily on the manager level, that has access to way more information than maybe some other basic users do. And in terms of that, also means that they have access to a whole other bunch of views that they might not need every day, but still need access to be able to look in once in a while. So they have the possibility of showing and unshowing the views as they go along. Managing and sharing views is also, there's other tools within it. You have the possibility of downloading the XML and then working towards using a custom tool to modify it or use it any way you want. And you have also the possibility to share from the 3 dots. So already from the first action, when you open up the account, you click the manage and share views, you can administrate your own views as a user, and that helps a lot. From your views, we go through the next step, which is the edit columns and the edit filters. These are also 2 little buttons that an administrator can open up for their users. It is not there automatically. It is not something that that is just there. It is something that administrator controls. But these 2 little buttons make sure that your users have the flexibility of adding columns to the views and editing the filters of the standard views that you have created for them, making it also easier for them and you to be able to know which views they might want as a system one, making it easier for them to see and filter without having to wait for the system admin to fix a system view. So they can actually continue their work while you are waiting on a list of tasks to do. While you get to that task, then the users can actually already continue their work while they wait until you can manage to go through the system view. Being able to do that also as a system admin gives the possibility of using the views that users are creating and be able to turn them into system views using a tool from XRM Toolbox, for example. Making it also easier for the system administrator to be able to save time by not having to manually create all the system views if already they have one usable view in place. So if you agree with your users what it is they want to be done, they have created it for you. You can take the information and you can take the view and then turn it into a system view by using a tool from XRM Toolbox. Modifying and being able to actually have control over your views, the columns and the filters is something that users have been complaining about for ages. It has always been a stepping stone for everyone, and it always has been a tremendous task for administrators because it is a quick fix, but administrators have also other things to look into. So those quick fixes usually drop down the list, and the users keep on waiting. They get frustrated because they know it's a quick fix, but they also have to acknowledge that it might not be on the top priority. So being able to do it by themselves helps tremendously with the user adoption. We have on the fourth place, we have the help panes. In Power Apps or Power Platform, you have different help possibilities. You have help pages where I can add a custom URL for a specific help page, or you can have help panes. You cannot have both at the same time. Help panes is the little question mark you can see in the top bar right next to your user account. The question bar opens, or the question mark opens up a bar view on the side that you as an administrator can modify. The custom help panes provide the following key features that can help you with learning paths. They have free-form rich text, including bullets and numbering, visibly linked coach marks and help balloons that can help you guide the user through maybe the most important parts of an account, of a form, of a view. You have options for video. You have options for pictures, so you can add videos and pictures to the form view here that can help your users to know how and what you need to use. Not every user can author the help panes. It is primarily a task for the system administrator or anyone that has gotten the global create, read, write, append, and append to privileges on the help page table. You can decide whether you want to have users, super users, to take the task for you, have specific super users within each department to create the form or the help pane for them, maintain it, make sure that everything is in order, and in that way you can always be sure that users are getting the help they need and they have the company relevant information or learning paths right at their fingertips. One thing about the help panes is that they are table specific. So the help pane you will see when opening, for example, accounts will not be the same one that you will see when opening contacts. It changes. It is table specific, but it also means that within that same table, you will have the same help pane, whether you are in this view or whether you have opened an account. That is why you have the option of adding sections to the help panes, making sure that you can filter it out and users know when to look for what. And last but not least, we have collaboration. Collaboration and co-authoring in Power Platform has been a hot topic for a while. It is something that has been a pain for a lot of makers. It is also something that is a pain when working in model-driven apps as a user. The pain for a maker and a pain for a user are different. The pain for the user is the fact that you are filling in information, you are looking at a view, but you don't know who else might be working with the same account. You might not know who you can turn to, or who is currently also looking into the same information that you are. In that case, it is always a good thing to see an indicator where another person is also working on the same form. It will only show up if the person is currently on the forum, but then you have the possibility of clicking on the icon and see if you can already, if you want to send them an email, start a Teams chat, or open a contact card. The open the contact card functionality is good if you actually are not aware of who the person is. You'll be able to quickly see what their position is, what they're usually working with, and then reach out to them having that prior knowledge. This helps a lot with the teams that are maybe not that familiar with each other, and it helps to make sure that all the information you put in is, you know who and what has been working on. I will show you also the collaboration, and also the collaboration kind of also builds into the Teams integration to model-driven apps. So having the possibility of starting a chat directly from a model-driven app also helps tremendously with the collaboration and co-authoring, actually, also if you're doing things. But enough of the talk, and let's see if I can also actually show you something. Let us. So in the start of the presentation, we started with the Power Platform Admin Center, where I mentioned to you that there are a lot of features. So when you go to your environment, you go to setting, you go to features, you are able to see as an administrator all the different possibilities you can turn on for your users. You can turn them all on if you want to, but be careful with the fact that the possibilities you are giving to your users. If you are giving too much freedom, too much resilience to the users, it might also come bite you in the butt afterwards. So what I do recommend, and also what Amanda did, was the fact that she tried them, she turned them on, she tried them, turned them off if needed, and when she had found a good way of working or good set of features to show to the users, she took it to the UAT and had the users test it out. If it was useful, she left it on. If it wasn't, if it was just a nice thing to have, they put it on the side and turned it off for now until they could make extensive information or documentation about it at a later point. The features that we have been covering today are the search part, where you can have the database search, which is recommended by Microsoft. You can also add on single table search option, prevent slow keyword filtering, quick find record limits, and use quick find view of an entity of searching on grids and subgrids. These are all the different levels of database search that you can turn on, or you can also just enable only a few of them. Next parts that we were talking about were the edit columns and edit buttons, filter on views, and these are helping with in terms of making your users able to actually control their own views. You have your modern advanced find on model-driven apps. People who have been working with model-driven apps for a longer period, they know advanced find as something that is really slow. It takes a lot of time, but now it has been incorporated into the database search, and it will actually function the way it does in terms of going through the views and edit and filter columns, so it doesn't take that much time to actually load it all in another window. We went through the fact that you had help panes, help features. You have, as I mentioned, you have the possibility of having the custom help for customizable entities with a custom help URL, or you can have the custom help panes. You cannot have both. You can, for this case, I would say I would enable it, depending, of course, if you're only using custom entities or if you're using the out-of-the-box one, but the help panes are actually also working for both. Help panes also is something that you can put into your ALM. So you can have help panes that you create in one environment and move them with solutions to all the other environments that are required, helping also ensure that you have a correct ALM in place. There are also a lot of other features that you can turn on here. There are also preview features that show up here. So make sure you don't just randomly add everything. Make sure you know what the consequences are when turning things on, and make sure everything is not interfering with the information you have in your system. But this is a model-driven app. This is a model-driven app that I have that I showed you in the first page that I created a few minutes ago. And you have the option, if it works with me, come on, don't fail on me now. You can do it. You can do it. And it opens up now. Perfect. In the model-driven view, you can see that this is the search that I was talking about. It is in the middle of everything. You start searching, and actually already it will, once you click into the search window, it will show you the recent accounts or the recent records that you have been working in with. If we search for graph, for example, so while I'm doing and writing the graph, it already goes through the tables that we're using, and it starts searching. But when I press enter, then it actually gives me the search results and the searched view that gives me more results, and so actually everything that fits a word graph. I mentioned on the right side there are the filters. You have the possibility of turning the filters on and off. These are rather limited. You can, out of the box, you cannot change them. These are the options you're given, but probably if you really want to, you'll find a way to modify these as well. And if you have added different filters, you can make sure that everything is pointed to the way you want it to. And just by clearing it all, you can go back to standard of how the search looked before you started adding them. You get the top results, you get the different tables that you have chosen, and then you also have the option of going back, and you will get to the point you started from. If you want to start a new search, just pop it into the search bar again, and the process will start for wanted to say forfire in Danish, but this starts all over again. From the database search, we were talking about the views. We were talking about managing views, and we were talking about how people can have a lot of views. One of the features that is actually not something that an administrator can enable, but something that has come is the focused view. A focused view is something that comes with the Fluent UI, and it lets you have the possibility of directly from the front page to show you the records, and it show you like a reading pane you have in Outlook. You have the option of doing that also now in model-driven apps. So you have a list of accounts on the side, and then you have the view of within the account in the middle, and then you can flip between them and then have the possibility of working like that. In terms of working with the specifically with views, the way I mentioned that you could filter them and you could manage them was if you press down the arrow, you click on manage and share views, and then you get a side pane on the right side that will tell you a list of all the views that you have access to, and you have the possibility of choosing which ones you want to hide, or which ones you want to set as default, and which ones you want to download the fetch XML for. Quickly, doesn't take a lot of time. You click on apply, and those that we have marked or crossed out, those views will no longer be visible in your views section. Quickly running through from the view account is the edit columns and edit filters part. Edit columns, edit filters opens up the list of columns that's there. You change them, you add them, you remove them. You can change the order of them by dragging and dropping. You click on apply, and then it's applied. Edit filters works the same way, only the fact that when you click on edit filters, it will open up another side pane for you where you can create your conditions of the data you want to see. You have the possibility of in the end resetting to default. Then we will default back to the system view that was created. You have the option of also downloading the fetch XML from here, and you have the option of deleting all filters. So that will delete also the ones that were created for the system view. You will have a blank space to just start from the start again. But I think, personally, the most exciting one is the help panes. Help panes, making sure that you have the option of showing your users where things are. So enable to add a list of, for example, this is the sitemap. You click, it actually pops out a balloon for the users. They can switch it off. And this is, and for example, show that this is your active view. You can do that with all the buttons, with all the sitemap, with everything that you have in the view. So you can have a path for the user to go through and make sure that they know where they're going or what they're doing. If you open up an account record, for example, then you can have the section here, which is the form view, and show the fact that this is a timeline. And for example, that seems to have gone a bit wrong, but the idea was that it should end up here to show you the organization information and make sure you remember to fill in that data correctly. So in that way, you can also show your users which parts of the form, if you're creating, are important, what they should make sure. And if there is something new you have added as an admin, you can also add it to the help pane to make sure that the users know that something new has been added. In order to edit it, you click on edit, and you can see all the functionality and options you have to choose between. In my opinion, cool feature. It's not a new feature. It's something that has actually existed for a while now, but it's actually a very overlooked feature in my opinion. If we go back to, for example, as I mentioned, that it has a different help pane depending on which table you're on. If we open up the contacts, we open up the help pane, we open up the contacts, we open up the help pane, and then we hope there is something. And we don't have anything. Great. So that also shows you the fact that the information we had on the account, we don't have on the contact. So help panes, but remember, you don't have, you cannot have both the custom URLs. You can only have either help panes or you can have the other one. So in the terms of figuring out which process you're going through, then make sure you choose the right one. Last thing that we were talking about was the collaboration part. Collaboration part shows you if a person is working at the same time as you, and you can see that only on the form. It is not something that you can see in the view list. So when you can see that you are working on a record, and if another person icon pops up here, that means that someone is working on the record already. So if we try and test it out here with, we take all accounts, if we can see if the user can access the same account that we were on previously from the other window, then it should also, whenever it opens, it should let us know that someone else is already working on the same record in the system. I love it how fast everything is. So we're crossing absolutely everything we have that it will now show up. I mean, if it doesn't, then you have to just settle for a picture that I made. Drum roll. And we're hoping, and we're hoping, and we're hoping. And we're hoping, and are we successful or are we failing? Wow, I hope it's just because I'm sharing and not because the system is that slow. Gonna be hard to get users used to that. But you could quickly see that there was another icon here when it disappeared again. So it has its quirks right now, but we'll have to deal with the picture that I showed you before and testing it out yourself. But as Amanda has helped her users the way she did and chosen the features that she did, you can help your users too. There isn't a one-size-fits-all functionality here. It is primarily learning your users, knowing what they want, keeping it simple, keeping it fast. And this is the system we're talking about. Try to make sure that all the modifications you make are not taking up on the fact that the system will get slower, making sure that you don't enable all possible filters for views, all search fields for views, making it also slower and your users not wanting to use it. Improving the tech is only half of it. You can make the technology as good as it possibly can, as possibly humanly possible or technology possible, but you have to have your user on board. So communication is also the key. Having your users part of the process, making them understand how it needs to be used and how it can benefit them, that is the key. So putting those two together, that is what you want to achieve for. And this is not a one and done. It's a continuous process. So enabling the features is just one half of it. You cannot say that, hey, I've done that. Now they should be able to use it and everything should be perfect. Things change, technology changes, the needs change. Make sure you get this done, you get to the level of beneficial that people want to be, and then make sure you monitor the process. Make sure you hear the people and you keep the communication lines open. That is the key. If users feel that they are getting the help from you that they need, if users feel that they are actually heard, they are also more willing to give you the time to figure it out. They are more willing to use the system and actually help you by maybe showing you how they use the system and giving you the ways and actually maybe creative ways to use the system. As a final thing from my side to you, it is to use these three information or different blocks and Microsoft adoption plan to be able to make sure and help you how to do things. We have a Microsoft Power Platform adoption page where it actually has a lot of best practices, it has tools, it has documentation on how and what to do to make sure the adoption is at its highest. We have a blog from Heidi Neuhauser about tools to help you be a super system admin on model-driven apps. Jay is talking about quite a lot of the ones that I also mentioned today, but there are also others that seems to come. And last but not least, there is also a blog post by Thomas Aldrins that I just recently found, is how to improve Power Apps user experience. He has really relatable and really easy, quick steps and tips on how to improve the user experience, just as I mentioned, by either flickering a button or making sure that you have your labels correct or your picture somewhere. So small things that can actually mean a lot. And by that, I say thank you. If you have any questions, please pop them in the question box, then Laura can give them on. If not, then thank you very much for your time, and I hope this was helpful.
Thank you, Vivian, for a great presentation and for a great hour of learning all about how admins can enable better user adoption in model-driven Power Apps. So now we will get into the questions and answers part. So as Vivian said, if you wish to ask a question, please feel free to type it into the questions window now. So our first question today is, someone is asking, do users need a per user or per app license in order to use model-driven apps?
Yes. That is the quick answer, but it also very much depends on how you plan to use that, what you use it for, and licenses is never a quick answer. License is never an easy answer. It also depends which kind of products you are combining them with. So I cannot give you, unfortunately, a final answer on that, but I recommend you figure out what you want to use them for. And how many users you want to have them, if it is already inside another license that you might have already, because the easiest way is to do just a Power App user license, but I really don't like the licensing topic, so I try to keep myself a bit away from it, but I would go back to the fact that what you need to use it for and ask your partner of what licenses you already have. Sorry.
Brilliant, thanks Vivian. And just another question in here, someone is asking how to ensure successful adoption.
You can never ensure it. There isn't, as I also mentioned, there isn't one size fits all. It is taking in the tools, it's taking in the information given to you and trying to see what fits for your users. All users are different. You can have a very successful implementation in one place and take it and copy paste it to another place and it fails miserably. You cannot take the fact that someone was successful or did some things that were successful and expect them to actually also be successful for your part. In that sense, the only thing that you can ensure to have and what works for everything is communication with the users. Keep a line open with your users. They will tell you what is needed, and they will tell you if it's, sorry for the expression, but crap. So listening to them, making sure that you enable them to give you the information, but also making sure that you don't take it as full truth. That is the way to make sure that you're at least on the right path.
Brilliant, Vivian. Thanks a million. So that is all the questions we have today. So I guess that concludes our questions and answers session. So just on behalf of the ESPC community, we would like to extend a big thank you to you again, Vivian, for taking the time today to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was our pleasure. So that is the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. So that is it for today, folks. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. Take care, and We hope that you'll join us again for more learning.
Thank you very much.
Bye.